Hi, welcome. This is the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV. My name is Nathan Kwao. Many thanks for joining us. It's always great bringing you this show. Remember, this show accompanies your digestion or consumption, let me put it that way, of the AFCON tournament, which is currently being played in Cameroon. So I'm sure you've been watching the matches. You've been taking note of the things that have been happening. On this show, we digest everything about the games. We look at the stats, look at players, look at everything related to this AFCON competition. And we'll be running from now till the end of the competition. You can send us your thoughts on WhatsApp or text via the number 0550-585832, 0550-585832. We'd love to read all your messages. And we'd love to get your comments as well. We'll take a very quick break. When we come back, introduce my guests and we get lift off. This is the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV. Welcome back. This is the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV. Let me introduce the guys. Fentu Tahiru is here, repping the Black Stars shirt.
That's right.
You're good?
Yeah, feeling a bit nostalgic.
Daniel Cranting is here. Hello, Daniel.
Hi, Nathan.
Good?
I'm very good.
All right. Susu Graham is also here on the touch and on the numbers. Hello, how you doing? All right, that's good. Okay, let's get into the first thing. Let's have a look at the quarterfinal fixtures. That particular bit has been sorted after a few days of action in the round of 16. We've got Gambia and Cameroon. That's happening on Saturday at 4 p.m. You've got Burkina Faso and Tunisia. That's happening also on Saturday at 7 p.m. We move on to Sunday, and we've got Egypt versus Morocco at 4 and Senegal versus Equatorial Guinea at 7 p.m. So there you have the fixture tree. That's the road to the final. You can imagine the path, for the respective finalists. This is what it would mean. Whoever wins this will play that, and it's very clear as to who takes on who. Now, the Egypt-Morocco side of the draw will have Cameroon or Gambia as company in the semi-final, and then on the other side of the draw, you've got the Tunisia-Burkina Faso brackets together with the Senegal-Equatorial Guinea bracket. So that's how it will look like heading into the semi-final and possibly the final. So you can, out of the 8 teams, you can start to plot which team could potentially make the final. The paths have been drawn, and it's very easy to see not who will progress, but how they will progress and what they will do in order to make the final. Let me start off, guys. Let's look at the first one. Gambia and Cameroon. That's the first quarterfinal.
Yeah.
Host nation taking on the surprise element of the competition. Every competition has a surprise team. This year looks like it is the Gambia who are the surprise team. Their first ever AFCON quarters at the first time of asking. That's some wonderful stuff though. But then they take on the mighty host nation who seem to enjoy all the energy that the fans give them.
Yeah, and this is one game that I am particularly looking forward to because I think that it would be absolute fireworks. I think two teams that are complete opposite of each other in terms of style. Cameroon is a team that likes to keep the ball against Gambia, a team that does not want to keep the ball at all. Keep it compact, quick in transitions. And that style of football could be very problematic for Cameroon to deal with, mostly because I feel Cameroon have not really come up with a team that's been very deep in their defensive block. I think they've come up against teams that have been willing to play the ball. Cameroon have just been better at keeping the ball than those teams. So this will pose a completely different challenge. But it's one that I feel that Gambia would fancy their chances, mostly because, one, this game will not be played at the Olympic Stadium, a venue that has proven to be quite a daunting place for opposition teams. This match will be played in the Japoma Stadium. The Japoma Stadium is it has one of the most horrible pitches in this competition. Now, CAF made that decision after the stadium stampede, so they've taken this match to Japoma. And the Japoma pitch, it's not a pitch that would definitely favor Cameroon style of football. That's why I'm very worried. You want to pass the ball around, you want to keep the ball. If the pitch isn't good, you're going to have trouble. If you are going for a race in a cornfield, would you rather have a tractor or a Ferrari? You fancy a tractor. And for me, I think that is exactly what the Gambia are. They're a team that is used to playing in these rough conditions. Their style of football doesn't need a smooth pitch. So I think it's definitely going to favor them. So that's one area where I think the Gambia would be looking at and thinking that we have a chance. The other area I think is that the Japoma Stadium doesn't obviously have the screaming fans that the Olympic Stadium definitely brings. And you can't underestimate the power of home support usually at these games, because if you keep it at 80% at a 60,000 capacity stadium, that's 48,000 screaming fans. If you go to the Japoma Stadium, which is like, I think 30,000 or so, put people in there screaming. I mean, that's not exactly the same thing. So, you know, so that is one. And that's two, sorry. And then the third factor, I think Tom Saintfiet has shown in this competition that he has the ability to vary tactics to match any team whatsoever in this competition. And that's why they remain unbeaten up to this point in the competition. I think if you look at their low block, I think it's exactly the same thing that we're going to expect from them. Try to keep it deep and then try to get the ball up to their forward players and try to nick a goal. Like that, I think it was Daniel who said yesterday that it's much easier to try and keep a team from scoring it's much more difficult keeping a team from scoring than it is to try and nick a surprise goal somewhere. And I think for the Gambia, that is exactly what they'll be looking at. Try not to concede as much as possible. I don't know what the numbers say, but as you mentioned it yesterday, they spend at least number of minutes behind, I believe, in this competition. They not spend a lot of time behind. So they're a team that is very used to not falling behind. And Cameroon don't want that. The more this game proceeds and progresses without Cameroon scoring, the more dangerous it gets for them. And since this has been the AFCON of many surprises, I am not ruling out the Gambia at all in this particular game.
Daniel, do you think that the hosts should be worried, one, about the condition of the pitch, because they've never played on such a surface throughout the competitions or since the start of the competition, and two, the fact that the venue has changed, the crowds may not be bigger, and then there's this Gambian team that is feeling very confident in their ability? Should Cameroon be worried about what could potentially happen in this game?
I don't particularly think the stadium change will affect Cameroon that much.
Okay.
Last I checked, they were the host nation. Whether they change venues, whatever happens, once it's 80% capacity, their fans will dominate the stadium. So if it's 20,000 fans in a 30,000 seater capacity stadium screaming, I think it's equal to 40,000 in a 60,000 capacity stadium screaming. It's just the majority that carries. And the most important thing is that the Cameroonians will hear their fans being the dominant ones at the stadium. So I don't think that will be a problem. For the pitch, look, it has affected every team that has played there. And that's where Fence talks about style of play. But look, football is football, and African football is African football. I just feel Cameroon still remain favourites for this game by virtue of being at home. Physically, they can easily assert themselves. And you see, Cameroon can easily vary their game. They don't necessarily need to go with that free-flowing, passing football that would obviously not be helped by the state of the pitch. I feel they have the technical ability and the know-how to vary their approach.
You feel they have it in them to change? We've not seen them try it.
But they can. And you see, the fact is that this is not always how Cameroon plays their football. We saw them against Cote d'Ivoire in the last FIFA World Cup qualifier. The first half approach was completely different from the second half. When they scored in the first half, they came out the second half. They were a bit more compact, a bit more direct, something that we've not seen in this competition. So what I'm saying, top teams can vary, and you don't expect Cameroon to, or you don't think that Cameroon will go in there and try and insist on playing and passing football for the entire 90 minutes when, or if it doesn't suit their style of play. What I think would go for the Gambians is their grit. And of course their head coach is absolutely fantastic at fashioning out game plans to disturb the opposition. I just feel that they will need to start very compact. Cameroon themselves, and that's the thing, in as much as Cameroon have won games, yes, Ethiopia, they scored 4, they scored 2 against Burkina Faso. Cameroon hasn't faced a team that has sat deep and caused them to, or forced them to break them down. Cape Verde didn't play that way, Burkina Faso didn't play that way, Comoros didn't play that way.
Ethiopia certainly did it.
Ethiopia didn't play that way. So they've been in matchups where it's been balanced. The teams will go at them, they also go at the teams, and that's what has helped them. But I don't think this Cameroon attack is sharp enough to be able to break down that resolute Gambian defense, especially if Gambia decide to be extremely compact at the back. I think Cameroon will struggle, and that's where they'll need to start going for the aerial balls. And in that case also, you look at the Gambian team, and they're also more than capable of dealing with that. Physically, they are also strong enough to deal with the threat of Cameroon. Of course, the Cameroonians are a bit stronger, but you expect Gambia to be able to cause a huge matchup for Cameroon. Even if the Cameroonians win, I don't think it will be easy. I don't think this game will be settled in 90 minutes. I honestly think it will go to extra time or penalties, especially because of the way Gambia play. But as I said, this is a fixture that my insides are torn between this. My heart and my head wants Gambia to win. But I just feel like Cameroon are favourites for this, and this is their competition. But I'm very sure I'll be supporting Gambia on the day.
Susu, what do the numbers tell us? Do you have any numbers to share with us?
So I'll start with the head-to-head. So these teams have played only twice.
Okay.
So that was in qualifying for AFCON 2017, I believe. And Cameroon won both legs, home and away, 1-0, 1-0. So not much history then, as you'd expect from a so-called minnow. They don't have much of a record against the top teams. But like we said, these games won't be won based on what happened in the past. They'll be won on the pitch. And let's talk about the game plan and the playing style. So now they've played 4 games each. I tried to look at some of the stats on the Opta side to get some insight into how they play. So this is what I came up with. So let me just explain the terms before I go into what they exactly tell us about the team. So high turnovers. So it's how often the team wins the ball in the opposition final third.
Okay.
So where in the opposition's defensive third, let me say. So that's winning the ball maybe 30, 35 meters close to goal.
Okay.
So 10 pass sequences is very simple. So the number of times the team is able to string 10 passes together. Then start distance. This is how far away from their own goal they start attacks. So the higher the number, the closer they are to the opposition goal when they win the ball back and start an attack. And passes per defensive action. So the number of passes the opposition take before they intercept the ball, tackle, make a clearance, or get it back. Okay. So any of those 4 metrics is a defensive action. The number of passes. So teams with lower numbers. So if you have 3 passes per defensive action, it means the team makes 3 passes, you do something, try and get the ball back, that kind of thing.
Okay.
They make 20. So a lower number means more pressing. So I've also ranked them so you can understand how they play. So if you look at the numbers for Gambia, a lot of them are in their 20s, and they were last in 3 of them. So what does this tell us? They don't press much, they win the ball deep, and they are not a very slick passing team. They are very direct. Their pass accuracy is not great. Compared to Cameroon are 3rd, 1st, 2nd, and 9th. So in terms of pressing, they are not extraordinary, but they win the ball high up when they do press, and they are a very nice passing team, and they attack a lot. So this is a complete clash of styles. So we're looking at a very possession-based team and a very direct, quick team. So it will be a very interesting game plan to see how it plays out. And maybe like Fen said, the tractor and the Ferrari analogy. The tractor approach in this game might be better suited for the bad pitch, but it remains to be seen how it will play out.
Okay, all right. We'll say that game is between Gambia, or the Gambia as they want to be referred to, the Gambia and Cameroon in the AFCON quarter-final. That should be fun stuff at the Japoma Stadium on Saturday. Let's move it on. Let's talk about Senegal. Now, they overcame Cape Verde to make it to this stage. They take on Equatorial Guinea, conquerors of Mali in that very interesting penalty shootout there. And there we see the Senegalese hitting the post, doing a few things against the Cape Verdeans. Daniel, let me start off with you. A lot of people think that now that Senegal have turned the corner, this is when we start to see the actual quality they have. They are in the last 8. They made the final 2 years ago. And so this is very familiar territory for them. Your thoughts, are they also going to have problems? Or now that they've managed to get past Cape Verde, it's full steam ahead to the final?
No, I honestly don't think we are going to see a flamboyant, free-flowing Senegal team till the competition is over, or till their competition is over. I think they've reached a stage where they've realized that, it's not necessarily about how they play, they just have to win. And whatever they will do to win, they will do it. They've watched Equatorial Guinea throughout this competition. They understand how difficult they are to break down. The Ivory Coast struggled, Algeria struggled, of course they lost. A number of teams have struggled against them, and for Senegal, a team that is also struggling to score goals, they will know that they have a serious problem. Don't be flattered by that 2-0 scoreline in the last game. Those 2 goals came after was it Cape Verde was really reduced to 9 men. It just shows you how poor the Senegalese attack is and how difficult it is for them to string passes and create opportunities. So for Equatorial Guinea, they will know exactly what to do and keep it compact. And look, I just love that style of football. And the reason why I like it is because everybody sings the praises of attacking teams. So if I sit back, it's like, show me what you've got. Mm-hmm. And more often than not in this competition, the teams that sit back and defend very well are mostly the victorious ones against the ones who choose to go free flow attacking football and play all the nice football. Nice football doesn't win you anything. Honestly, it doesn't win you.
Why do you say
it's how efficient you are. It is not about how nice you play.
Yeah, but some people's efficiency is displayed by the football that looks pleasing. No. Well, I guess it's very subjective.
If you play pleasing football and you get chances, the efficiency is scoring those chances. But it's not when the match finishes and somebody say they deserve to win. Why do they deserve to win?
Do, right?
Yeah, some teams do. Yeah. So if you know how to do it and you do it well, kudos to you. That's a good job. But for a team who understands that they are not they can't match up in terms of quality to their opposition, you sit back, you remain compact, and you trust the guys at the front with a proper game plan. Direct football, get your goals and continue to sit back. If they say they are better than you, let them try and score you. Algeria, they couldn't score against Equatorial Guinea. The defense was just too strong for them. Chose to go by set pieces. And you see, the set pieces, there was a trend to it, there was a pattern to it. So it's not like they were just hitting set pieces in. They studied it, they practiced it, and it showed on the pitch. So I think this is honestly going to be one of Senegal's most difficult games, if not the most difficult game. I don't know if Mane will play, but if we are supposed to follow proper concussion rules, I don't think he's supposed to play this game. He's supposed to go at least, I think, a week.
I mean, the Senegalese have been criticized heavily for how they handled the Mane episode.
But we all know he will start this game. And if I was Equatorial Guinea, I think I'll target him in that game. Just go at him a bit, sort of frustrate him. Because we've seen in this tournament, if Senegal are going to score, it's going to come through Sadio Mane. More often than not, if he's not the one scoring the goal, he's the one behind the pass or in the thick of things when it comes to the attacking move that will produce the goal. So for me, target Sadio Mane, of course. There are guys in there who can cause you damage, but not as much as Sadio Mane. Remain compact. And you can always find the goal. I always say this thing. You can always find the goal. Corner kicks, free kicks, they are out there. And Equatorial Guinea have shown that they have the quality to be able to exploit those areas or those sides of the game plan to be able to get a goal. If it doesn't happen, you can always go to the penalty shootout. And they qualified from a penalty shootout the last time out. So I think they're honestly, I think they are good enough. And what we are seeing in this quarterfinals, in fact, in this competition, is anybody's game. It's honestly anybody's game. The one who has the right game plan and the one who is more efficient on the pitch is the one who win the game. So yes, of course, I'm supporting Equatorial Guinea. I'm not going to hide it. I'm supporting Equatorial Guinea. I want them to win this particular game because I really admire their run throughout this. Look, they were in a group with Cote d'Ivoire and Algeria. Yes. Nobody gave them a chance. They went to the round of 16 and they faced Mali, another powerhouse, and they beat them. And you see, it's not by luck. It is not like it is not by luck at all. They were not helped by red cards and no. They sat down, they did their homework, and they got the result. So I don't put it against them to get another one against Senegal.
All right, friends, your thoughts on this encounter? Daniel seems to think the Senegalese will struggle. They've really struggled to be at their best, to be honest. Yeah. And Daniel thinks that trend will continue. He's giving Equatorial Guinea a lot of props. He says they could survive this game and win it.
Yeah, and I think it's mostly because of Senegal have not. I think teams have come to be known with a certain identity that has brought them results, and I think that's why people complain when a certain team is not playing at a certain level. When Senegal went all the way to the final in 2019, the football they played was better than this, and that's why many people could predict that they were going to go far. Under the same manager, same personnel, the football isn't exactly the same, and they're struggling to get the results, but they've got the results. And I think it is fair when many people refer to the way they have played so far in this competition and say that we don't see a Senegal team that is exuding a lot of confidence. And I think that is absolutely spot on. However, they've reached this stage of the competition without conceding a goal. And the last time any team in the AFCON got to the quarterfinal stage without conceding was Algeria in 2019, and they went all the way to win the final. So that's one thing. They may not be playing very nice football. In fact, the last game, against Cape Verde was the first time they scored in open play in the whole competition. It took them 3 matches to do so. But they're not conceding, which is a really good thing. And if you don't concede, you don't lose, of course. And but I agree with Daniel when he says that Equatorial Guinea at this point in the competition, they really have nothing to lose. They are fearless, and they will look at a Senegal team that's not exactly played to their strengths, struggling to score goals, and they will fancy their chances. And I think that if I were Senegal, Ali Cisse, you'd be very, very afraid about what this Equatorial Guinea team can do. So it is a match that it's very difficult to call. I don't think that there's going to be any point where Senegal are going to come out and blow teams apart. I think it's just what it is. They are not at the level that they were during the qualifiers. And I'm struggling to understand why that's the case, because during the qualifiers, they were scoring for fun. In fact, as recently as their last game of the World Cup qualifiers before the playoffs. So I don't get what's going on. And that's why I'm not surprised of talk of Ali Cisse possibly getting fired if he doesn't win this competition. There's really no excuse for Senegal anymore. And it really would be the lowest of the low if they get kicked out by Equatorial Guinea. But at this point, it's a big reality. Equatorial Guinea come into this game with absolute high confidence, because at this point, they've defied several odds to reach the stage in which they have. And
but
you see, the thing is,
won't that confidence pose a bit of a problem? Because
I don't think so.
You don't think that they would?
No, they're not.
Actually
Their
try to go
confidence
toe-to-toe
their confidence
with Senegal.
isn't that we are better than Senegal.
The confidence is that they believe
yes,
they can.
we believe in our system, and we are confident that this system can get us through. Because you have to look. You see, and it's hard when you can't do could, should, would. But the truth of the matter is that if Cape Verde had 11 men on the pitch, we might not have been speaking about Senegal at this stage, and that's the truth. But obviously, we can't go back and change time, and we will never know what would have happened. But if they had equal opportunities, equal men, perhaps that's probably where we would have seen the biggest strength of Senegal. Because I don't think that 2-0 win over Cape Verde is a true measure of how good this Senegalese team is. Because I don't really think that they were tested, maximally in that particular game. So this is tough for them. And it's hard to call. I really can't stick my neck out and say Senegal will win because everybody thinks they're favorites and they have the best players. Because this tournament has shown us that
you could
just
get
shut
done.
up about your predictions.
You could get done by a team. As for Daniel, he's played his hand. He says he wants Equatorial Guinea to win. So every time we look at the spreadsheet, we notice Equatorial Guinea are in this very interesting position in terms of the play style and that very magical thing you've been displaying.
I'm not using it today. We are looking
the spreadsheet is not coming
I'll
back?
bring the spreadsheet, but I'm using it a different way.
Yeah, different. Okay, fine. So tell us what.
Before I start, the spreadsheet has Senegal's favorites to win the competition.
Of course.
So.
Daniel hates it.
Daniel dislikes the spreadsheet. That's what the spreadsheet. It hasn't committed.
Like because every time the spreadsheet predicts, that team goes out. So you should keep predicting. So as long as Gambia has no favorites, I'm happy.
Well, Gambia have a 0.9% chance of winning, according to the spreadsheet.
That's 1%.
Yeah,
essentially 1%.
And Senegal have the highest, 24.4.
What about Equatorial Guinea?
1.4.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, but so what are you gonna tell us now?
Well, before I get the first thing we have to start off, obviously, is the head-to-head. Interestingly enough, they played only one match at the AFCON. That was in 2012, and Senegal lost. But when they've played in qualifying, Senegal have won. So I don't know, maybe it looks like maybe Equatorial Guinea have the tournament, And I think Senegal in general, their tournament record is not one that is pretty. I mean, they've never won an AFCON for one thing. So it's something that maybe might be weighing on their minds. But when you go to the play styles, I think Equatorial Guinea are very interesting because they have a high amount of high turnovers. Their passes per defensive action are somewhere in the middle. But they are not very good at passing. They are 17th in the 10-pass sequence rank. And their start distance is in the bottom half as well. So I think they are a team that kind of emphasizes that kind of mid-block Daniel was talking about yesterday with Egypt. They press in certain situations. They are not an all-action pressing team. I think Senegal are more towards the higher end because they are more possession-based team. They win the ball back a bit higher. But like we said, they've struggled for goals. So a lot of this possession has really been for nothing. So, and I think that's what bothers me about Senegal. The spreadsheet has them as favorites, but if their only open play goals came against 9-man Cape Verde, I don't see them doing much in the competition. Fentio is right. They don't concede. It's great they don't concede, but if you don't score either, you are putting yourself at the mercy of a penalty shootout, which can go either way. So the spreadsheet says something, but I would take the second favourites on the spreadsheet, Morocco, as better, having a better chance of winning the competition, because Senegal just have not convinced me. But I would agree with Daniel. I think an Equatorial Guinea win looks a bit more likely because they've shown a bit more oomph in this tournament. They've shown a desire to win. They've played better, in my opinion. I think just knocking the ball around and not conceding isn't playing well, despite what it looks like. So I'll go against the spreadsheet today and go for Equatorial Guinea.
It is coming. The spreadsheet man is beginning to distrust the spreadsheet.
Interesting. Anyway, let's go to some of the messages. Heinz Alaba from the Gambia says, "We are proud of ourselves. One of the smallest countries in Africa and one of the lowest ranked teams in the AFCON. We are the Scorpions. Watch out."
They were the lowest ranked team going to the AFCON.
Okay, lowest ranked team
of all
going
the
into the
24
AFCON.
teams.
Okay.
Which is why they even have to play that preliminary round coming up
Yeah.
soon, even though they've got to the quarterfinal.
Okay, this one says the Gambia is the first team in the AFCON to play against Cameroon with all negative tests. All right. Onga, who's in Ashaiman, says, "I love the show. Black Stars, no force, cry." Okay, Dr. T, a very good friend in Kumasi, says, "I was surprised you guys didn't touch on much officiating from Wednesday's game." Yeah, I mean, we had too many things to talk about. Honorable call from the ref who rescinded the decision after VAR and a refreshing break from the red card spree. This one says, "I think the big boys in African football are going down gradually. Yes, the smaller teams are improving, but when you look at the diaspora, the likes of Brazil, Germany, England still dominate. I foresee 9 slots will be occupied by more smaller countries in the 2026 World Cup." Okay. This one says, hashtag Gambia all the way. The person didn't add a name. "I foresee Tunisia versus Morocco final and Morocco to win. As for the World Cup qualifiers, Algeria, Tunisia, Morocco to go through. Ghana, Nigeria 50-50. Senegal, Egypt is also 50-50. Okay. You can send us more thoughts on the number 0550-585832. Would love to go through those messages between now and the end of the show. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we've got more. We'll look at the other games in the quarterfinals, and then we'll look at the teams or players that have not performed well at all in this competition. We call them the flops of the tournament. This is the AFCON Daily Show. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. This is the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV. My name is Nathan Kwal. The full gang is here. Susu Graham, Daniel Cranting, and Fentu Tahiru. Let's move it on. Let's talk about the other games on the other side of the draw. We'll look at one of the games, Egypt versus Morocco. Egypt versus Morocco. That's, well, you could argue is the biggest clash really in the last 8, right? It's the biggest clash. Egypt have won this competition so many times. The Moroccans, do they have an AFCON win to their name? I think they do. So they also,
Maja gave them one.
Rabah Maj in the 80s gave them one there. That should be fun. Guys, very interesting. When the round of 16 path was put together, I never thought of course, you always imagine seeing a big boy clash, but to see Egypt and Morocco at this stage of the competition, that's a huge seller before the final, right?
Any clash between North African teams is always a
I mean, if it had been Egypt and Algeria.
Oh, please don't go. We don't want another war. That will turn out to be a 4-1 drubbing. And then the Algerians lose their heads and then concede like a goalkeeper turn himself into a boxer. I'm talking about AFCON 2010 here. Who could forget? It was, I think they were involved in the World Cup playoffs. They had to take the game to Sudan.
Yes, I remember. That was 2010.
Yes, it was. 2010. And then they met at the AFCON.
Yes.
And then Egypt absolutely dismissed them, walloped them. Anyway, Morocco. The spreadsheet's favourites to win the competition. My personal favourites to win the competition. I think if they can get past Egypt, they will probably win this competition. Egypt showed in the last game against Cote d'Ivoire that their manager is one that is quite, I think he's quite an enigma, to be honest, Carlos Queiroz. I'm not, one time you know exactly what he's doing. The other time you ask yourself if he's really coached at the highest level before. And one of those questions came against Nigeria. But then he gave everybody all the answers we're looking for in the game against Cote d'Ivoire. Absolutely devised a strategy that was effective, it was efficient. And they had the control of the game right from minute 1 up to minute 120. And I think that this is the biggest test of his abilities, because this Morocco team, apart from Cameroon, are probably the team that plays with the ball the best way possible. They're efficient from all kinds of angles, from set pieces, from which they scored in their last game, from penalties, from open play. They have patterns that create them opportunities here and there, and they have even, let me put it this way, even luck going their way as well, because that's how they found the goal against Ghana, pummel the opposition into submission. So they've got a lot of variety to their game, and they've got players with a bit more technical ability as well. But these two teams, whenever they come up against each other, I was saying that like yesterday, that there's just certain teams when they meet each other, form really doesn't count for much. And I think against Egypt, it's going to be one of those matches where it's absolutely impossible to call and to tell that this person is going to win. I think for Egypt, this is one of those games where they go to the signature Carlos Queiroz move. Sit compact, keep it low, keep it tight, don't concede, and try to play in quick transitions. And if they're able to do that, I think that's where they will catch Morocco and be able to find that odd goal to beat them. Because I think Egypt so far, their biggest strength is actually playing the way Carlos Queiroz would have them play. Sit in a low compact block and try to play in quick transition, because they've got quick players and they've got efficiency up front in Mohamed Salah. Morocco are one of those teams that will not want the opposition to have the ball. They'll come chasing the ball. They want to control the ball. They want to control the midfield. They want to control the entire match. Possession, they will have a lot more of the ball. And I think that could be their weakness. Is their strength against many oppositions, but against an Egypt team with quick attackers like Sobi or Trezeguet, or even if it's Mustafa Mohamed or Mohamed Salah himself, that is a lot of danger that you're playing against. And if Said or El Neni can get that one quick pass through to any of those forward players, they could cause Morocco a lot of problems.
Daniel, after what we saw from the Egyptians against Cote d'Ivoire, do we get the sense that Carlos Queiroz has changed his methods and now we'll see a lot more involvement from the others, so that Mohamed Salah's gifts and talents and whatever can help them? Because this is a very difficult game they are going to play. The Moroccans really want to win an AFCON and they are hell-bent on going all the way.
This is Morocco's last game in the competition.
Morocco's last game in the competition.
Yeah, look, Morocco can score, but they can also concede.
Wow.
We saw Malawi create a number of openings. Gabon scored twice, could have scored more. Even Comoros created some openings against them. Ghana were flat, but then one time Ghana decided to go for it, and it was Bono who had to save from Joseph Pinso's effort. It just, look, the Moroccan defense is not the strongest out there. And for me, starting with Hakimi, if you look at the Egyptian team, they have more than enough to stop Hakimi from bumping forward. If he wants to, he can do so, fine. But then they'll catch him on the break. With Sobi down that left-hand side, he can cause him some problems there. You look at Egypt and the way they play, and I agree perfectly with Fent. I think Egypt are going to win this game, and I'm very emphatic on that. They will win this game because of Carlos Queiroz. This is a North African derby. In games like this, you usually see end-to-end action. But because of the presence of Queiroz on that bench, we will not see that. And that is where I think Egypt will win this. They have the personnel and the manager who can keep Morocco at bay. Morocco pushed against Malawi. But you could see it was down to fine details.
But the Moroccans did show us the appearance of recovery.
Yes, and of course. But look, trust me, if it was Egypt, they won't. If it was Egypt, they won't.
So you don't think the Moroccans have the quality?
No, they have the quality, but it's also, you see, your quality is also dependent on who you are facing at the end of the day. Malawi, for me, did not defend the way I thought they could. Some of the defensive positioning was a bit awkward for me, and you could tell they were desperate to keep the score at 1-0, and some of them were lost concentration and they were all over the place. But you see, Egypt are a very well-drilled side. You saw against Cote d'Ivoire, even against Nigeria in the second half, you could see that they had understood the tactics and the instructions from Carlos Queiroz. And I feel, look, they are a very difficult team to break down. After the Nigeria game, they've not conceded, and they went 120 minutes against Cote d'Ivoire, who threw on Zaha, who threw on Max Kone, who threw on everybody in the Arsenal to try and get a goal. And they just couldn't. The Egyptians are that compact and very difficult to break down. And you see, once you have Salah up front, you always have a chance to score. He may not even score a goal, but his mere presence up there will put fear in your opposition defense. So for me, I think they should just approach this game with the same game plan as Cote d'Ivoire. Keep it tight, keep it very compact. And you always have that threat up front. The likes of El Neni and Said, who have been very good in this competition in that midfield block. You can stop the Moroccans. And you see, I understand because of results, but even from the start of the competition, I don't. If Morocco win this thing, I'll be surprised. If Morocco win the AFCON, I'll be very surprised because look, I'm just not afraid of them, honestly. I just feel like
you just hate the fact that the spreadsheet has them as favorites.
No, it's not like it's not like I hate,
okay, guys. Okay,
it's like Senegal. Okay. This
you
is
think
my
that you think that
I
the
think they
results
are being favorites because of their name.
Okay, so
I don't think that
do you think that
performances have
the results are masking Morocco's inefficiencies or deficiencies?
I think that look, Morocco's biggest test in this competition was their first game against Ghana.
Yes.
And they didn't impress me.
Okay.
Honestly, they didn't impress me. For a Ghana team that decided to sit back the entire game and allow Morocco to have the ball. If Morocco created some openings in their play, if they created some chances and at the end of the day they won, I'll be like, okay, fine. But they did nothing. And there was a mistake that from Thomas Partey that allowed them to score. After that against Comoros, of course, you expected them to go out, dominate Comoros and win. Even that game, those long balls Comoros were hitting in showed that they had some deficiencies in there. Look at the first goal Gabon scored them. Morocco had the ball, Gabon intercepted. Long ball is fired through. Was it Roman Saiz who slipped? And all of a sudden, Alevinia has scored. And then the second goal also. Their defense doesn't convince me. You see, when a defense doesn't convince you and the opposition has Mohamed Salah,
I think what Daniel is saying, you see, I lean towards that because think about it. I think the game against Ghana, it's probably the best template to play against. You used to play against Morocco.
Yeah. So
but if you have players with better decision making, you probably, because if Ghana had Mohamed Salah in that team, we had openings. You know, we were, and that's a signature Carlos Corres move. He's not going to come here to go to
there are
box to
chinks
box.
in the Moroccan armor that the Egyptians can exploit.
yeah.
Interesting stuff.
If you watch the Malawi game, especially in the latter side of the second half, Morocco started hitting crosses in.
Yes.
Trying to look for El Nesri.
Because that's how he scored. Anyway, cross came in and he headed.
Look, those things are not going to work against Hegazi. You see, Egypt are different under Carlos Queiroz. If you leave the ball on the floor, they can block spaces and prevent you from getting chances. If you decide to go long and look for your only target man, that is El Nesri, Hegazi will fancy that matchup any day, anytime. He'll just pin himself to me like what he did against Halle. Knock, and then he'll sub El Nesri and bring somebody else in.
One thing that's crucial to winning this game is Carlos Queiroz' interpreter. Before the tournament, his interpreter was changed. Right? He brought his own interpreter. And they said they can't pay him. And they sacked the man. And then they brought their own interpreter, who is Egyptian. So when Carlos Queiroz says something, he interprets it
in Arabic.
Yes, and he interprets it in exactly the way he hears it. So you see, so a lot of things.
No, but I mean, you see, this is not.
That's why in the first game against them.
This is not new because
so in the first game against Nigeria, he says Sobi middle, then Sobi is.
In 2017,
it can happen.
Hector Coupe had an interpreter, and he was Egyptian as well, but he was versed in Arabic and Spanish. So I found that quite interesting. Yeah. But Susu, I'm sure you've been listening to Daniel and Fred. Both of them seem to think that Morocco will have problems playing against the Egyptians.
I
over
think
the
if
weekend.
there's one team the Egyptians will be afraid of, is actually Morocco. And I found something interesting in my research. They played 29 times. I want you to guess how many times Egypt have won.
10.
Lower.
Wow. 3.
3. They've won 3 games against Morocco in their history. And that's what was shocking me the most. I thought this would be an evenly matched, they've won 3 games. Even when they won AFCON 98, Egypt won in 98,
yes, in Burkina Faso.
They lost to Morocco. 2006,
so
they won.
They were in the same group, I guess.
Yes, they
Clearly,
couldn't
because
beat Morocco.
They couldn't have lost.
Exactly, they couldn't beat Morocco in 2006. Morocco won only one AFCON in 76. They beat Egypt. So this was what shocked me. Even their wins are a bit more. Maybe in their last meeting they won 2017, but they struggled to beat Morocco historically. And usually I don't put faith into statistics like this, but it just strikes me as something that could play on the Egyptians' minds going into the game.
Could it not serve a purpose? Could it not serve the other purpose where they might look at the head-to-head and say, you know what, we've struggled against these guys. Now it's time to beat them. But of course, the Ivorians have been struggling against Egypt and they still couldn't beat them. So I don't know what that means. But let's get into other things.
So that's, but I agree with some of the things you're saying. I think the Moroccan fullbacks, they don't convince me, especially Massina. Because at least Hakimi, we know going forward, he's an amazing talent. You see Massina, he's going to be facing Mo Salah. This is a Watford left back. I don't even know if he starts for Watford, but we see where Watford are. Watford can't keep a clean sheet to save their life. And you have one of the best wingers in the world versus one of the worst left backs in the Premier League. It just does not look good on paper.
And then there's Hakimi's tendencies to...
Exactly. I feel like there'll be a lot of space in behind, but like I said, maybe that mental block will work against Egypt. Like, usually I tend to go for the science and the data, but when I see such a disparity, you've played almost 30 games and you only won 3. I just have to wonder whether it's something more, it's even spiritual at this point, because...
Are you guys hoping to revise the notes now?
You know who had never beaten Ghana before the AFCON?
Comoros.
But like I said, when you see these two teams, these are giants of African football. And knowing Egypt and their stature in the African game, you would think that it would be closer. But it seems like Morocco are the only team who have really dealt with them over the years.
Guys, look.
No, I mean, some of those things work. Sometimes, you know, it's just, I think I mentioned it earlier. There's just that thing about certain matches. You just everything just goes out the window, and it's just like it's played at a different realm. And it's a mental game as much as it is physical, in my opinion. I'm not sure there's some spirits involved, but I definitely think that psychologically there is a lot that goes into matches like these.
Okay, let me read this one. And this one corroborates what Susu was saying. Egypt has won only 3 against Morocco. They've won 12. Egypt do not do well against their northern brothers. Batel Daniel, Morocco only conceded 2 in the group stage, and it was because they rested a lot of players. All right, interesting. This one says, Susu is my man. Rabah Majer is Algeria, not Morocco.
Oh, sorry.
Morocco won the AFCON in 76. Thank you very much, Gameli. The Monkey Man, he says his name is Gameli, the Monkey Man. Interesting. And our friend Dr. T is still watching. She says, I agree with DK. Morocco hasn't impressed me in this tournament. And she's asking, is there any Ghanaian referee at the AFCON? Yes, there is. Referee Daniel Lai.
Mostly been the 4th official.
Yes.
I just have to say one more thing before we go. I forgot to say it. Morocco's finishing. Daniel is right about that. I mentioned it yesterday. Their XG is about 9.6, basically 10, and they've scored 7 goals. And like I said, Hakimi's 2 free kicks are part of those 7 goals. You take that out, they've had a lot of great chances in the box, and they haven't taken.
has 1, and Nesri has scored
1. But I'm just saying, when you look at the XG of the chances created and how few they've scored based, because they're already underperforming, you have 2 wonder goals in your underperforming. It just shows that their finish has been a bit poor. And if they don't fix that, I don't think they'll have a good day against Egypt, because chances will be at a premium.
Wow.
So
we'll see. That's a very, very important clash in the AFCON. Egypt versus Morocco in the quarter-final of the competition. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we've got more for you. We still have to look at the flops of the tournament. We'll look at all of that after this break. This is the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV. Let's get into the next thing on the show. We'll get back to the fixtures in a second, though. But let's look at the flops of the tournament. Now, in every competition, you expect some players or some teams to do well. Some do well, actually. Others do not. Others struggle to succeed and shine, and they end up being flops and getting huge thumbs down. So let's look at the people who failed to shine and glitter. Daniel, Susu is helping us with that?
Yeah.
Well, we have things...
Well,
Suzuki.
Give us the numbers.
We compiled a list based on fan opinion, some numbers. I mean, we as a team, fan opinions, numbers, and I don't want to say who mentioned whose name. We won't go into that. I only agree with one of the players, just as a disclaimer. But we'll start in alphabetical order. No order is alphabetical order. So our first flop of the tournament, Andre Ayew.
How?
So 1 goal, 0 assist, 1 chance created, and 62% pass completion. I'll pass him over to Fent to give us his judgment, whether he agrees or disagrees with.
Do you agree? Yes or no?
Andre. Listen, man. More claps than goals. Stop. What's this too funny?
I mean, that's so unfair.
More claps than goals, obviously. More captain armbands. more press conferences, more mixed zones, more Isha last than anybody in the competition.
That's
he has supervised. Hold on.
It denigrates our work when you do this.
He has supervised the worst campaign at the AFCON in Ghana's history. Look, I like Andre Ayew. He's expected. I mean, he's done it in previous tournaments for this country. He's been there. He's the country's all-time highest goal scorer at the AFCON. But I think all of those goals mean nothing if you don't progress out of the group stages or at least go farther than where Ghana ended up in this competition. I like Andre Ayew mostly because I think that he has heart, he has desire. But I don't like him because I think that he is over-fixated on the idea that he is destined to lead the country somewhere. And that is why he fails to see when he's performing poorly. In the game against Morocco, he was played as a false 9 or our number 9. He was supposed to be a striker. He spent more time in in our own defensive area trying to clear chances than any other player.
But
why he's supposed to be scoring.
I remember after that game,
don't stop me, don't interrupt me.
No, relax. You highlighted those same numbers. And you said on the defensive side,
okay, I don't like this. I don't like it. Don't make me seem like I'm contradicting myself.
No, I'm just asking the question.
I am going on, and I'm saying that, yes, those defensive numbers were impressive, but that's not really his primary job. I've changed my mind. It's possible. So that's not his primary job. His primary job is to score. And he didn't score in that game, didn't create any opportunities, did absolutely nothing, walked around, clapped around for 70 minutes. The first 30 minutes he was active. Then the remaining 70 minutes he just clapped around and did nothing. If you're a responsible player, you have to recognize where your talents are, where your strengths are. If you can't last 90 minutes, it's not compulsory. If your contribution is 30 minutes, let it be 30 minutes, but effective 30 minutes. I think he did himself a great disservice in this tournament by insisting on playing. And I say insist because we heard the stories. Let nobody come and tell me that he didn't leave himself on the pitch. We know. And we have been told that he was even making decisions on who else will stay on the pitch. So he is in a position to make a decision for he himself or staying on the pitch or going off. The game against Morocco, absolutely non-existent. The game against Gambia, I'm still very angry with him. You know why? Yeah. Because he scores a fantastic goal. He contributes immensely in the first half. In the second half, he's piss poor, he's absent, he's gone on holiday. He gets the one opportunity where he has to pass the ball to an opposing player to try and score. He doesn't pick the pass, and then we go on and we draw the game. He comes in, he completely disrespects, and that's part of the reason we lost to Morocco, Comoros. He comes in, he says, we are Ghana, we are going to beat Comoros and qualify. And he says, Inshallah, we are going. You don't have that right to do that. All right, you don't control. Look at your performance. So he failed to see that we were poor. He had his eye on beating Comoros instead of actually realizing and sitting with the team and recognizing that it is important for us to go and play as a team. And then in the game against Comoros, he goes in. He should be smarter than that. You stick your leg out, red card, off.
Fent hasn't said anything.
Okay, I'm just asking. He has spoken.
He hasn't said it. After the Morocco game, he came here and he defended the fact that Andre Ayew played a huge, made a huge contribution defensively. If the coach gives you a job to do and you do it, why are you sitting here saying you expected him to do something? Are you the coach? If the coach didn't take him off after 70 minutes, you are saying he had the power to. Since when the players have the power to say, hey, sub this, the coach didn't take him off, and you are blaming Nketia said it, so you are.
So he was there, were you there?
So the coach couldn't yank him off if the coach saw the need to.
Because the coach can't. The coach is afraid of him.
Okay, Daniel. So I take it you disagree.
He's not a flop of the competition. How can
so anymore
for Ghana?
Anymore.
I agree with Daniel's last points that the coach makes the sub. Let's not blame. Let's talk about what he did on the pitch. Not
but what he did on the pitch was.
So give us.
Let's move on.
Like I said, alphabetical order, no ranking.
Yeah.
Mohamed Salah.
He has flopped.
I think 1 goal, 0 assists, 10 shots, 65% pass completion.
Not good enough.
Even though they've gone to the quarterfinal, some say it's not good enough.
Okay.
Like
but
I
he's
said,
still alive in the competition.
I will offer no competition.
Why is Susu saying some? You agree? You are saying some say it's not good enough. You agree? Say
so you think Salah was a flop or is a flop?
No, Salah is not doing well. Salah is not doing well. Per Egypt's model, he's supposed to be at the end of the chances. He's supposed to. He's not doing enough.
Okay.
That's not his fault.
That's not his
So
fault.
I can use the same argument. That's the coach's fault. You don't play a strategy.
He's not doing enough.
No, he's doing enough.
Did you see his pass completion? 65%.
But how many strikers have better pass completion than 65%?
When you say flop of the competition, when you say flop of the competition, we look at your potential and the numbers they actually give.
And I'm saying
Salah is not a 65%.
And I'm saying that generally attackers have the lowest pass completion. Defenders have the highest. Midfielders have the second highest. The strikers have the lowest. It's normal. This is a very average number.
How many shots, one goal? Are you kidding me?
Because he's always trying to pick teammates. The team is not running into position.
Let's move it on. Next one.
Salah has been brilliant. His team is in the quarterfinals. They probably make the semis.
Fine.
Just to add to what Fen said, 65% is still bad, even if you're a striker. I think okay for a striker is 70%.
Compared to the other strikers he plays,
okay, let's move on.
His numbers are not better.
10 shots, one
for
goal.
Mohamed
Let's
Salah,
move
you
on.
are saying
Susu, who's next?
Riyad Mahrez. I think this one is a bit easier. I mean, Algeria went out.
0 goals, 0
very
assists, 4 shots.
I think we all agree.
I think we can
Because
agree.
I won't spend my energy arguing on this one.
3 matches and he had just 4 shots.
Yes.
Yes.
It's not serious.
Okay, let's move. Let's move on.
Okay. Another Ghanaian player, Thomas Partey.
By far.
Okay.
This is what should have come first.
As the flop of the tournament.
Yes.
Okay. So
Thomas wasn't a flop.
He didn't do too well then.
Thomas wasn't a flop.
It wasn't a flop.
I think Daniel should argue why he was a flop because we got Andre to Fenty to argue against.
No, do you know
Andre.
why I think Thomas was a flop?
I think you should go
Thomas
ahead.
was supposed to control our midfield. He was supposed to have a hold of our midfield. Against Gabon, we completely lost it in the second half. He was non-existent. Against Comoros.
Because he was playing with one other player whose legs were gone. How could he perform?
What are you telling me? Against Comoros?
Yes.
Up to 20 minutes when we stayed, in fact 27 minutes when we were level. Comoros were still dominating. You see, Thomas didn't do it. He himself knows. And he finished there, he went, and the following day he was playing for Arsenal.
But
and he got a red card.
Yes, Thomas may not have played well, but he's definitely not a flop. In the Ghana team, he was one of our better players.
That's what I said earlier. When you say flop, you look at the person's ability, his potential, versus the output. Andrea Ayew right now is less of a star than Thomas Partey.
He's a top scorer in the Qatari league.
Everybody was Qatar.
Okay, let's move on.
Don't do this.
Thomas, see, I'm just going to say this. Thomas Partey, of all the players that we had in this competition, he was our second best player, only second to Chere.
Okay.
Wolakot was our best player since we have been ridiculous.
Wolakot
was our best, followed by Andy Adam, then Baba Rahman, then Wachi Adam, then Mino was the best coach at the competition.
Wolakot was our second best player. Our third best player. Number 1, Chere. Number 2, Partey. Number 3, Wolakot. Number 4.
Okay, fine. All right, let's move on.
And we have our last player, Crystal Palace's Wilfred Zaha.
I'm happy he's going home.
7 shots, no chance created. He played 155.
Scored a crucial penalty.
Does that count?
No, he doesn't. Miss it. When Bailly missed his...
No, but I'm just saying that in the shoot afterwards. So no, he added to his stats.
When Bailly missed his, it didn't count.
I don't like the way Fenty.
You don't understand me. I'm saying that. Do you add a penalty shootout?
I'm saying that he's not had the chances on the field. He's had the chance in the penalty, and he took it brilliantly. And you said, does that count? And I'm saying, if it doesn't count, ask Bailly.
Will you add a player's kick in a penalty shootout to his tally?
No, I'm saying that the penalty counts with pressure.
Zaha fighting with everybody. When he came to Andrea, you said more claps than anybody. More what than anybody.
So
Zaha was more fights.
You see, the head coach of Cote d'Ivoire didn't even deem him good enough to be starting him in games. That shows how he flopped.
You see, you bring one of your best players to the tournament, you don't start him.
Who's one of the best?
No, but the point is that
how is he one of the best players?
In Patrice
Bomel didn't start him.
In Bomel's estimation, he probably didn't
He's
think
not
that
one of the
Zaha
best.
No, Bomel is incompetent. That's why he will lose his job.
In place of Zaha.
Let's try and wrap it up.
Zaha started one. Max Gradel is 35 and plays in the Turkish league, so you have to address that point when you are defending Zaha. Why was he?
The same reason we are playing 33-year-old Andre and benching Pencil. It's normal.
They don't play the same position though, Fence. I think that's a bit
You see. No. They are. Pencil can absolutely replace the game. We'll have no problem. So don't go there.
We have. You see. Let me just take you back to the game after the game before Gabon. He said himself that the only person who can get us goals consistently is Andrea. Today you are saying we can replace
All right, guys, let's wrap it up.
Don't do that.
I'm sure the discussion
You see,
will
people
continue.
listen to you.
arguing
You are
on the merits
confusing
of
them. You are
we
confusing
are
them.
arguing on the merits of today's
You are
topic.
confusing the
Stop
people.
using things from 5
But it's
episodes
the-
ago.
it's the
Okay,
same
all right,
conversation.
no,
let's end it. Let's end it.
I have
Let's end
changed
it.
my mind.
That's been another episode of the AFCON Daily Show. I'm sure the arguments will continue wherever you are on the flops of the tournament and who did well and who did not do well. We are back on Monday with more, looking over the quarterfinals, and then we'll look ahead to the semi-finals and everything in between. This has been the AFCON Daily Show. We are back on Monday. Enjoy the weekend. Watch the games. Monday we'll come back to run our rule over everything that has happened in the AFCON last. We'll catch you then. Have a good one.